Alright, well hi and welcome to the design videocast for week 3. I'm just going to jump right into it. For the CAE task, you should all have your parts assigned now, and one of those parts has 2D written on it. That makes that your 2D part, the part you will be using for your 2D drafting assignment, which is due week 5. So, in week 3, which was this past week, we gave you a little tutorial on 2D drawing. There's a slideshow that we used for a presentation. You have access to that, and that has lots of drawing rules for how to draw in 2D. We went through it quickly, but we'd expect you to go through it in detail and make sure that you know all those rules properly, just to make sure that you remember what you need to from first year, and anything that you may have missed, well, at least you're getting in that presentation. In terms of that presentation, I think a good strategy would be try and make your part in 3D, then put it in 2D and dimension it yourself after you've had a quick look through, and then take your 2D drawing with the dimensions on it and go through the rules one by one and see if you're violating any. That way you can be certain that your drawing is completely compliant. If you just look through the rules and then you go and draw yours, you're sure to violate some. I would probably do the same thing. It's hard to remember them all. There's a lot of them there. As for the actual part that you will be using for your 2D drawing, many of the parts that you'll get will be way too complicated to actually represent in 2D. We wanted to stress, and did in lab, that your 2D part should have 10 to 15 dimensions. Now if you really think about that, that's not a lot of dimensions. So if you picture a square, that's already 3 dimensions. Put another square on top of that, you're looking at 5, 6, and then you put a hole in there, you're already getting close to 10. So really we're talking about very, very simple shapes. We said in class that we'd be more than happy to, this week in week 4, look over what you've got as a 3D part to help give you some feedback on whether that would be an appropriate part for 2D. Because we understand that it's a very hard concept to grasp sometime, but overachieving on your 3D part at this point will actually just result in a worse grade. Because if you give us a part that's really complicated and still put 10 to 15 dimensions on it, if those dimensions don't fully represent how that part is built, you won't get a good grade. So make sure, 10 to 15 dimensions, no less, no more, a very simple part. Take it easy on your 3D part and you'll be fine. And take advantage of our time this week in lab to make sure that your part does fit. The last thing I wanted to just reinforce about the CAE task was the upload of your database. So you should all have been assigned your parts after finishing disassembly in the shop and have weighed them. A few of you didn't have time, so you'll be doing that this week. But we need those databases uploaded so that Warren can have a full list of all the parts. Now when it comes to design, in week 3 you submitted your 12 design submission, your submission 1. We've graded those and you should be getting them back at your lab time this week in week 4. And now we are expecting your submission for the 12 designs down to 3, so your 3 designs. And just to remind you, in case you're still working on that, the focus for the grading, again, isn't on telling you which designs are good and which designs are not. That's your part in the process to try and eliminate them and do the calculations and the right analysis to figure out whether a design is good or not. What we're doing is evaluating you on the adherence to the format. And I'd like to remind you that you have to have that statement on the cover page that they talk about in the course outline. A few of you missed that, as well as signatures and a date, and the rest of the format as we have requested, and the strength of the combination. So you're going to narrow it down to 3 designs. What makes your 3 combinations of designs a really good complement for each other? So if you have 3 of the same thing, when you're narrowing down to 1, if you figure out that that doesn't work, that's not a very strong combination. It doesn't put you in a good position. So you need to explain to us why your 3 designs are a good combination that is going to be an advantage for you. So that narrows it down pretty much for what we wanted from week 3. Coming up in week 4, we're going to be giving you your motors and showing you a little bit about their stats, as well as talking about the design binders and the submission 3. That's going to be week 6, I believe. And we'll be in the computer lab as well, giving you some help on 2D drawing, some advanced 3D features while you're starting to think of your 3D parts. And that's it. So have a good week in design. I'll see you in the lab. This was take 1, by the way. I'm getting better.